The call that every MMA fighter dreams of finally came in. The man they call the Asian sensation had 9 days to drop 25 pounds and get to Las Vegas for his UFC debut. Adversity was nothing new to Andre Soukhamthath, and on March 4th, 2017, he stepped into the cage, securing his place in history as the first Lao American to fight in the UFC. Andre's journey to the top wasn't easy. By his side in managing his career through the ups and downs is his wife, Jamie. Andre recently decided to hang up his gloves, so join us as we talk through the tragedies, victories, and what the future holds for Andre and his family.
Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of C4 Podcast, Southeast Asian Athletes Achievement Through Adversity. I am here with my co-host John Messina and MMA Asian sensation Andre Soukhamthath. John?
Yeah, hey Andre, welcome to the show. I'm honored to be here with both of you guys. You are both athletes that have been inducted into the Lao American Sports Hall of Fame, and I know that's a big thing there. And we're especially happy to have you on, Andre. We know you're busy. We appreciate you taking time out of your day. You've got an incredible story. You're an inspiration to many. A lot of people in the Lao community look up to you, but really a lot of people, I'd say, all over look up to you. And you've done a lot of great things. So thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for doing this interview. A lot of people would love to hear a little bit more about you and your story, and most importantly, where you're going to be going in the future. So with that, I know you grew up in the Providence area, Woonsocket, Rhode Island. I love that town. I'm Italian. They have one of the best little Italies there in Providence. Great food down there. It's what I would say it's different than a lot of the other little Italies in that it's not a tourist trap per se. It's really authentic. So one of my favorite towns. So tell us a little bit about your family coming from Laos and growing up in Providence area and Woonsocket.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I got so much love for the 401. That's the place that kind of made me who I am, gave me a lot of grit. You know, I had to go through a lot of grit, a lot of adversity growing up. Not just being Lao, but Asian American, you know. I'm really happy that my parents got to migrate there, you know, because if not, I wouldn't have all the lifelong friends that I have right now. You know, we are a small community there, but you know, I tell you what, the love and support for me in the 401 in Rhode Island and New England, from since day one, they have been loyal to me, and that's what really kept me going and following my dreams, and ended up making a pretty good career out of it. You know, as a kid, I was just, I'm sure a lot, you know, a lot of Lao Americans can relate. I grew up, both of my parents were working because they were both immigrants. So we were far from being well, you know what I mean? We're living paycheck to paycheck. Even when we were paycheck to paycheck, we're behind on the bills. You know, as a kid, I saw that. I saw my parents working hard every day, overtime all the time, overtime all the time. I'm the big brother, so that left me a lot of responsibilities. I have 3 siblings. So I was kind of like the dad at the house at a young age, you know. We're all 5 years apart, so I had to take care of each and every one of those kids while my parents were at work. On the weekends, my mom put me in traditional Lao dancing, so I used to fawn a lot. I did that for about 5 years. I used to go to soccer tournaments with my dad. I was a big soccer player growing up. That's what kept me out the streets. My parents really invested in my soccer career because they knew that I took a liking to it, and when I did something, I did it full on, you know, and they saw that I loved what I did and I took it serious. So if I wanted cleats, if I wanted gloves, if I wanted anything soccer, they bought it for me, no matter how much it cost, no matter how many extra hours I had to work. They supported me with that, you know. And that's what kept me in school. That's what, you know, sports, it saved my life, man. Like basketball and soccer, that's what kept me passing. I was never the best student. I never wanted to be the best student, you know, and my parents never wanted me to be the best student. They just wanted me to pass. And if it wasn't for sports, I would have never passed because, you know, I had to be eligible. So I had to pass every class. And Yeah, I grew up around it all, even the fun stuff, the karaoke on the weekends, the good food, the temple celebrations, the break dance, and and then I found MMA after high school.
So was there a big Lao community in Woonsocket and in Providence?
Yes, yes, and it's crazy when you would say Laos and you say those two cities together, you wouldn't be able to because there was like a lot of violence growing up too, a lot of murders and a lot of fights because the state is so small, and there was some violence with some gangs, some Asian gangs, Lao gangs, and I grew up around that too, so it was rough for me, a kid come from Providence, going to Woonsocket. It was really tough. Had a lot of fights, had to stick up for myself. That's what I meant. I had to go get by the grit, it made me a little tough. But it's crazy because when I started fighting, all that violence kind of stopped, because they would all go and support me and they'd be next to each other, side by side and cheering for me, And it's funny, I got a DM from one of my friends and he actually made me realize that like he was just like, you you stopped like years of violence just for you fighting, because everyone got to be in the same building and nothing happened, because they were there
Wow.
supporting you.
That's
So
awesome.
that's really fresh in my mind.
Yeah. So there were like rival gangs between Providence and Woonsocket.
Yeah,
And
growing up, pretty bad too.
yeah, that's incredible. So I guess you showed them something positive to rally around together and brought them together, right? More than anything, I
They
guess.
were just happy, yeah. They were just happy a loud kid from the community was going for it, and I was going for it. And they supported me.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, you mentioned MMA. Tell us about how you met your manager, your wife, who happens to also be your manager.
Oh man, so she started this whole roller coaster with me, because when when I started MMA, I didn't know anything, I didn't know how to what medical. I don't know what medicals like. I would see these papers. I need to get this, and this. I'm like, what the heck is all these medicals? So I would just hand them to her, and she'd be like, "Oh, you need this." She would make a call to the doctor's office, let them know I'm coming. And as an amateur, that's kind of how it all started. Oh man, I want to fight. Can you help me look for a fight? She would reach out to promoters and say, hey, she wouldn't even say my boyfriend at that time. She was like, hey, this guy wants to fight. One of my guys want to fight. She act as my manager. So even when I started MMA at 18, and started competing as an amateur, she would do that for me. She would reach out to these promotions. She would negotiate deals, ticket sales. I was a big ticket seller because, like I said, the community was behind me a lot. So she would negotiate all that, every little thing, like per diems, make sure, there was a sauna nearby. If there wasn't, make sure I had a passage, had a sauna, I can make weight, all those little things. And we kind of just grew together, as far as management, the level got higher, as I became a pro, I got into the UFC, continue her, with her supporting me and handling all that stuff for me. She also helps me a lot in life too, like when I need, when, like she scheduled this meeting, she does a lot of my PR and stuff like that. So she's just like my personal secretary that's very underpaid. But she got my love, though.
That's right, man. She does. Yeah, that's incredible. Co's a professional athlete as well, and we were
That's
talking about that
amazing,
earlier,
man.
right? Co,
Wow. Yeah. What's funny is I didn't. We just talked about that. Man, it would have made my life a lot easier had I had, a manager. I think I had people that wanted to represent me.
Yeah.
But it was shady, right?
Yes,
I didn't.
exactly.
You didn't know who to trust, and I got screwed over by.
Sometimes you take those risks and you get screwed over.
Yeah. That's part of the business, right? In one way, we have a sport, the sport of bodybuilding, the sport of fighting, the MMA fighting, but then there's the business of MMA fighting, and then there's a business of bodybuilding, and that's where for me, I couldn't separate. I didn't know how to separate that, So for you, having her take care of all that, all the bullshit, right? I mean, that's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. You nailed it. Just as much as we love what we do, you love to bodybuild, you love to work out. I love to train. I love to compete, but it's a business too, that's how we're able to make to make it a big part of our lives, so that, we get compensated for it, or, we get some recognition for it, for doing what we love.
Yeah.
And very blessed to have her behind me. She helps me a lot. She takes a lot of stress off my shoulders.
Awesome.
That's awesome. So you were fortunate enough to get your start in MMA right there in your hometown, because it's the home of CES MMA. So tell us about your early start, your career. And I know your father trained you. Talk us through that and getting started with CES.
Yeah, so when I got signed to CES, I think, I came off being the '1 amateur in the region, but I actually lost my pro fight with another promotion. And I saw CES, they're really famous for boxing. They've brought up a lot of boxers from the area, like Vinny Paz, Pino Manfredo, guys like that. And they were very respected in the boxing promotion world. And they saw that the MMA was coming up, so they started a MMA, MMA branch. So I go to these shows at the casino in Rhode Island, and these shows would be awesome. The way they ran things, everything was so professional, and they knew how to promote their fighters. So I told Jamie, like, hey, she was thinking the same thing. Hey, we need to get into this show. So after my first time fighting for CES, it was just a fight. They didn't really know who I was. They didn't really do too much homework on me, but I did a really good performance. I made a really good performance. It was a really exciting fight. I had a lot of people in the crowd for me, so of course they liked that, and I turned into a fan favorite. My fan base just kept growing and growing and growing in Rhode Island and New England, and I would sell out the place every time I fought. So CES, they signed me to like 5-fight deals, 4-fight deals, and they kept me busy. And every time I wanted to fight, they got to find an opponent for me, and good opponents. I never said no to an opponent. I fought everybody. I won some and I lost some. You will see on my record. I never got an easy opponent. I always wanted a test. They wanted me to have a test, and it was a good place to start my career and end my career. They're awesome. I really appreciate them, and I'll be Team CES for life, no matter where I'm fighting.
Tell us about your time in the UFC. So, which is where a lot of people think MMA, right? They think UFC, they think Dana White. And tell us about that. Tell us your experience with Dana White. Did you have a conversation? Did you talk to him at all, or how was that?
My longest conversation with Dana White was probably at a retreat he had for all the fighters in Las Vegas when IMG took over. I think we were both kind of drunk, and we were just talking for like 10 minutes, and he was like, and we weren't talking anything about fighting. He was like, it was a time to celebrate, He wanted to get back to the fighters, and the fighters were celebrating. We were letting loose and having fun, and he was just telling me about everything that was coming up that weekend. We had a Snoop Dogg concert, we had a carnival. He was just like, Andre, and we had a lot of mutual friends because he's from Boston. So we talked a little bit about that too. But when it came to business and stuff, I never really talked to him. It was mostly Jamie that talked to those guys, and you hear good things about the UFC. You can hear bad things, but I have no bad things to say about the UFC. They treated me pretty good, I never really said no to them. Maybe that was kind of my fault. They wanted me to fight in Mexico against the Mexican star. I did that. Fight in Canada against the Canadian star. I did that. Fly to China, fight in China against their up and coming prospect. I did that. So I'm sure they would say the same thing about me, that I was really easy to work with. They're very professional. That's where every fighter wanted to be. You know, I did this before it was cool. I did this before people were watching this on TV. You know, and then it started becoming popular. And yeah, now the whole world's watching. Everybody loves the UFC, but it wasn't like that when I first started. You know, it wasn't even like that when I first started fighting pro. So for me to make it to, you know, for me as a young fighter, you know, I knew I wanted to be competing in the best at the best promotion at that time, and that was the UFC. That was the NBA to basketball. That was the NFL to football, and it still is. And that was always my goal, and I made it there. And when I got there, it was everything that I thought it would be. You know, it was professional, and a lot of lights, a lot of fans, a lot of good treatment. It was cool.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you know, it's interesting because the way you got in, you got called one day and said, "Come to Vegas pretty much now, right?" And fight.
Yes.
Is Tell us about that. How do you know, how did you do that?
Woo. So I was waiting for that call for maybe 8 to 9 months, you know, because I'm coming off 3 knockout wins. I defended my belt twice. The last 3 guys I fought were sleeping. And you know, I knocked them out really bad. That's what the UFC likes. So I thought I was ready. I was ready for the bantamweight division. And then they never called. I saw other guys get signed before me. I'm like, what the heck? Guys in my weight class. And I'm just like, are you serious? But you know what? I kept training. I stayed positive. I actually signed another fight with CES. I was just like, I'm not going to sit around and wait for the UFC. It's been about 8, 9 months now. I need to be active. I need to fight. I need some money, you know? So I went to go fight. I signed another deal. And then while I was in fight camp for that fight, maybe like, you know, just starting off that fight camp, I got a call from the owner of the team I was on. He was just like, hey, you want to fight in the UFC? You ready to fight in the UFC? I was just like, yeah, of course. Where's it going to be at? Las Vegas. Okay, against two. Albert Morales. All right, let's go. You know, it was no question in my mind. Of course, I was scared. Of course, I was a little nervous. Of course, I knew that I had to drop about, you probably know about this bodybuilding. But this was a short amount of time, you know. I had to drop 20 pounds in 8 days.
Wow.
And
That's crazy.
and you know, my walk around weight is about 160, you know, and I was training, I was staying active, and I was kind of, you know, starting my diet, not so serious. So I was walking around like 156, 155. I get the call and I'm just like, man, okay, this is what we got to do. So literally after I got the call, I went running. I ran like 5 miles that day. At the gym later on, I did some jump rope. I went right into workouts, like no game planning, no preparation for the fight at all. Just focusing on the weight cut because I had to drop 20 pounds. And
You know,
I didn't want to make my debut, my UFC debut, and miss weight, you know. And that was really hard. You know, I made the weight. Listen, I was having fun. You know, I flew to Vegas. I went with my wife. I told her to quit her job because it was an unhealthy environment. She quit her job. I was happy that she did that. And I was just like, it's all good. I was like, I got you for a little bit now, baby. You know, she supported me all these years. So I was like, I got you. I got you. Quit your job. It's unhealthy for you. It's not good for your mental. Come with me to Vegas. And she did. And it was a good experience, you know, put into a hotel, all that stuff. And then when it came time to make the weight, though, it was really hard. You know, it probably took me about, no lie, 18 hours in all to make weight. It took me about 2 days straight, like just making weight, not drinking, not eating, just cutting weight, sauna, hot tub. And then I made the weight, man. I felt if there was anywhere, you know, I don't know. I've never been really sick or I've never been, you know, too injured, but that was the closest I felt to like being sick
yeah.
or feeling like I was gonna die. You know, also dehydrated, and I didn't even know I was on weight. You know, last time I weighed myself, I was like 136 and a half. And my coach was like, hey, Andre, man, you're not looking good. And I just said, you know, F it. Let's go. Let's go weigh in. I don't care. If I miss weight by half a pound, I don't care. That was my mindset because I was dead. I wasn't going to kill myself. Stepped on the scale. I made weight. But, you know, even though I made weight, now it's rehydrating. You know, I just took all those pounds off, and you get sick even rehydrating, especially when you lose weight that quick. So I had to rehydrate. I felt sick the whole time. So my USA debut, if you go back and watch it, you see that I get tired, I gas out. That's the main reason why. You know, the weight cut took a lot out of me. I only had 8 days to lose the weight for the fight, and I took it on a guy and that was preparing for the fight. You know.
Yeah, the fans don't know that stuff. You know, like bodybuilding, man. The same thing, losing weight, feeling sick. Like I feel like death.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
and then you make weight and you step on stage. I just stepped on stage, man. You had to fight. You know, you had to fight and do all that physical work. I dropped weight. You know, made weight, and then whatever. You know, I stood on stage, but so I mean, it's still difficult, but it's nothing like it's strenuous.
Of course, it's difficult. Yeah, especially when you're doing it. Yeah. Even when you're not cutting the weight, even when you're just dieting, it's hard.
Yeah.
You know, but it was all worth it. You know, I got to be the first Lao American fighter.
Yeah.
The UFC cage. It was a dream come true for me and my dad, not just me and my wife, but my dad also. I said, Dad, right when I had the call, I called him that night, Dad, pack your bags, we're going to Vegas. He didn't train me for that fight. I haven't even trained with him for like maybe half a year because I moved to Florida. I didn't care. I said, Dad, you're coming to Vegas with me. You're going to corner me my first UFC fight. And even though I lost by a split decision, it was a good fight. And it was a dream come true. It was a goal that I reached. That I wanted to be the first Lao American fighter, Laos fighter to be able to compete in the cage. And not because I wanted to be. I just wanted to prove to all the other Lao kids, like, yo, you can do it too. And for me to be the guy to do it, I can say, see, you can do that too. Or other guys, other kids can be like, hey, he did it, he's Laos. And that's really what I wanted, you know, and I'm glad I achieved it.
Yeah, and you have inspired some, because we've actually had some younger guys reach out to us through the Hall of Fame and ask about you. And there's one guy in particular, Hayden Allen. He's
Wow.
6th ranked amateur boxer. He's a former Division I college wrestler. He's just getting into it.
Yeah.
People won't step in the ring with him. They look at Division I wrestler, 6th ranked amateur boxer coming into MMA. You better watch out, right? It's a dangerous combination.
I actually, when you guys shouted him up, I think you guys shouted him out.
Yeah, we shouted him out as a rising star. Yeah.
I followed him after that. So,
yeah.
You know, I love seeing that stuff. Like, if someone's really dedicated, like the kid wrestled in high school. That's not easy. To finish high school and wrestle and be a standout, you're committed, you're dedicated. You kind of know what you want to do. And he's a boxer too. Obviously, that's all going to lead into one thing, and that's MMA. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to his watching his career grow. And if he has any questions, you know, you can reach out to me anytime. I would love to, you know, let him know what I've been through. And if he has, you know, I didn't have that. I didn't have that at all.
Exactly. That's why John and I created the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So we can do that. I'm retired, you know, so whatever, anybody, if I get up and comer, and, you know, I always tell them, man, you got any questions, let me know. I'd love to be, you know, I just love to be, you know, help you out, do give back, you know, so.
Absolutely, much respect to you too, man.
Oh, thanks, man.
I'm sure you're able to help a lot of the young youth. You know what I mean? That want to bodybuild and stuff. That's amazing,
man. You know, it's big now. You know, it's got like the shorts competition. You know, so like before we used to be bodybuilders, right? And I try to. We kind of like laughed when it first came out. Like, what is division? You know, but it's gotten so popular. It's gotten more popular than the bodybuilders. People don't want to do, you know, all that, you know, training this leg and that, you know, I mean, you can hide your legs, right? But it's just, you know, it's gotten popular. And I think there's a fellow in the Hall of Fame, James, I forgot his last name. What's his last name?
Kinty Singh.
Yeah,
Kinty Singh.
Yeah, he turned professional. He's got his pro card. So, you know, hey, that's another Laotian that's a professional bodybuilder. So. That's
amazing, man. I love seeing that, you know. Even though I've been there, I fought in the UFC. A lot of times I have a couple belts. I don't care about what I did. I want to be alive and stick around to see what the next big star from Laos does, you know, and I want them to go much farther than me.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
Hey, you mentioned your dad. Tell us about his career. A little bit about his fight career.
Oh man, so growing up, my dad was always, you know, he was always just like most people look at their dad if their dad's around. And he's a hero. He's the strongest guy. He was really the strongest guy. He could really fight. You know, I would see him training all the time growing up. Teach me a little bit of some stuff, but you know, I really wasn't interested.
Like, did he
But
fight back in Laos, or did he fight in state?
he doesn't have many fights. He probably fought in the ring okay, under 10 times, maybe like I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 times, but just like real casual in the refugee camps. You know, in
Oh,
the
wow.
refugee
Okay.
camp, you would train, they would match you up, but nothing like what I did in front of a big crowd professionally. Nothing like that. But he's a great trainer, you know, he's a martial artist, so that's kind of where he came into play. You know, he just teach me the techniques. My dad is good with the weapons. So, you know, he studied karate, he studied Muay Thai, Muay Lao, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which what he represents. And he kind of put it all together, and he's very smart with the game. So we watch he's a lifelong martial artist. He watches boxing, he watches movies, you know, and he'll be like, oh, this is gonna work. And he used to just make me train these things. If you watch my highlights, I have a lot of flying knee knockouts. Why? Because when we trained, my dad used to make me warm up with flying knees for an hour straight before we did anything else. You know, so that's kind of how my dad fits into this role. He didn't want me to be a fighter, you know. Even when I was young, I would ask him like, "Hey, I always wanted to box." He wouldn't let me be a boxer. He was just like, stick to soccer. He didn't want me to get hurt. He didn't want me to break my nose. He thought I was too pretty for the sport, you know, whatever. But when I was really serious, when I was 18, and I was just like, hey, I'm gonna try MMA. He hopped on board. He was, oh, you can kick too? Okay, I can show you a couple of things because he likes to kick and knee. And it's in the blood because
Yeah.
my grandfather was a Muay Thai champion too.
Okay.
He was
Wow.
a big dude. Like he was like 6'2", 6'3", just a big guy. Um, my dad's grandpa was a Muay Thai fighter from his mom's side, so it was kind of in the blood, and you would see that come out of me when I would compete in soccer, when I would compete in basketball. Like I had like a drive to win, like nobody did. And when I lost, I cried. I cried. If I lost a game, it was a big game, I cried because I was so passionate about, you know, not only winning, but like I put so much into this. I want this. I want the glory. I want I want to be the best. And when I couldn't be the best, when I couldn't get the glory, I would cry, you know, and that's kind of the fighter that was in me that will come out in other sports. You know, if someone touched me the wrong way, I'd be the first one to be like, hey, what's up? You got a problem? You know, fighting was perfect for me, I guess. I'm glad I found it.
That's awesome. So, you know, your roots run deep in Laos, and it's on my list. You know, my wife was born there, left at like 8 months old. She's never been back. We want to go back there and visit and check it out. So you've been back, and you went back as an MMA fighter already with kind of a name behind you. What was it like going back? What was your reception? What did it mean to the people there?
Man, I had people staring at me in the airport. They weren't sure if it was me. And then when they did, it was pretty nice. You know, they came, that took pictures with me. It was a quick thing because it was right after my fight in China, and I was pretty beat up after that fight. You know, I broke my hand first round. I still finished the fight, but you know, I took a beating. You know, I couldn't block or anything, so literally just a punching bag for that guy. So my face was really bad. I had to wear sunglasses for the first 2 3 days that I was there, and I was only there for 5. You know, but I didn't want to do any business. You know, I just wanted to see my family. I wanted my wife to see her family. That was the main goal. We had a plan. You know, it was like, okay, we land here at Vientiane. We're going to spend the day here with my family here, took care of me, boom, go out to eat. Next day, we went on the plane with this. Next day, we went to her family's house, spent the day there because her grandfather and her dad's side is in Vientiane. So that was day 2. Day 3, we hop on the plane, we go to Savannah. We spend 2 days there with my dad's side, and then fourth day we fly back to Vientiane. We spend the night there, and then we leave the next day. You know, we had it all planned. I wanted to see a lot of my family. I got to see a lot of my family. I didn't really get to see my mom's side because she's really out there, and the roads were bad at that time. It was like a rainstorm going on that time, and my mom's side still has no electricity. You know, so it was hard for me to get out there. But I'll get out there. I'll get out there and show some love and give back to that family too when I can go back out there. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
But it was amazing, man. Laos is like nothing. You know, it compares to no other place to me. Even being around Lao American people is kind of different too, because over there it's just so genuine. There's no hate. There's no bad talk. There's no jealousy. It's just like everyone's happy. Everyone is sabai, literally sabai, and they're happy with what they got. They eat what they have. The food is the best, and it's amazing.
I don't know, man. I still worry about the taxi driver, how much he's gonna charge me, you know.
You know, Ko, I've been around the world. You end up realizing you're negotiating over 50 cents, right?
Yeah,
the currencies.
Yeah. Even, that's what I was gonna say. Even if he charges you a lot, I'll probably be like $2. You know, so I'll give it got $5.
Speaking of a Lao community, tell us about your involvement in the Lao community in Rhode Island, and we hear like you had an award too in Fresno. So tell us about Rhode Island. Was it Woonsocket first, and then Fresno after that?
Yeah, I'm so blessed. I get all these awards because I'm recognized as like a Lao leader or a Lao inspirational man. I got one for being inspirational. I got a key to the city from Woonsocket because of what I do overall for that community. Yeah, I'm really tight with Woonsocket because one of my jobs when I was a up and coming fighter was working at the Boys and Girls Club. I worked at the Boys and Girls Club, that local Boys and Girls Club. I started off teaching boxing for kids, just kids that were in the streets. I kind of just taught them boxing. It was like $10 a year, so I loved it. And then there was a spot that opened up in the actual Boys and Girls Club, so I ended up working there for about 6 years. So I worked at the local Boys and Girls Club, driving kids to school, picking them up from school, mentoring them, watching them grow up for about 6 years. And I still keep in touch with some of them today, and that means so much to me. So whenever I can give back to the community of Woonsocket, I try to. And as far as doesn't matter what nationality, Lao or whatever. If you're from Woonsocket or if you're from Rhode Island, I try to support whatever I can, whatever is doing good there. And with Fresno, I had my first UFC win in Fresno, so it's a special place in my heart. And I also have a lot of fans in Fresno because Fresno has a big Lao community. So when I went to Fresno, like I had a big support too. I almost felt like I was at home, And then after my fight, someone reached out to me. We became friends on Facebook, on Instagram. Like, hey, come party! I got you VIP at my club. I'm like, okay. So me and my friends that went out to the fight, we went there. We had a blast, and I got so like the hospitality was so good in Fresno. So I had the opportunity to speak for LACF, which is a nonprofit organization for young Lao students. They give a bunch of scholarships away every year. And I remember one time we did a fundraiser with Lao Supply. I sold some fight shirts, and we give 100% of the profits to that charity. And I got to give away like 4 scholarships, and whenever we can, we try to help out the community, no matter what it is, especially our Lao people. So they really appreciated that. So they invited me back to do a speech there, which was 2 weeks ago. It was prior to that. I was supposed to do it in COVID, but then COVID happened, so they had to cancel everything. And then we finally rescheduled it, and we got it done. There was like last 2 weekends ago, there was like 400 students that came out. And I'll tell you what, I saw with my own eyes, not just my speech. When I came out, all the kids were excited. I was high-fiving everybody. It was crazy. And then I gave my speech. I told my story. Hopefully the kids took something from it. And then that's when I got an award from the governor there, just as a leader. But then after that, I decided to stick around. Me and Jamie wanted to stick around and see what they did. So what they did was they had different workshops. And there was Lao students there was Hmong, there was some Cambodian, and there was some kids that just had friends that were Lao. So like, I'm gonna go too, and what they did was they had workshops, right? These kids were in groups and they would rotate. One workshop was teaching them how the importance of the Lao language, of the rituals, of why we go to the temple, why we pray, what does this mean? What does that mean, right? Another workshop had financials, like how to manage your money. When you make money, this is what you should do. Credit cards, credit, how important that was. And then another one even had like just teaching like about college. When you're in college, if you don't have a major, that's okay. Do this, do that. So I didn't have that when I was young in my communities, but to see that these kids have that in Fresno, what LACF is doing, I'm sure there's other organizations doing that in the country too. Man, it hit something in my heart here, man, and I loved it. I hope these kids take advantage of it, take full advantage of it, and use their resources, because the future is bright for Lao American students.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, so Andre, Co and I a few weeks ago ordered some pizza, turned on your final fight together, right, Co? We live
Yeah.
about 5 minutes apart, and you hung up your gloves. So the big question everybody has is, what's next? Where are you going from here?
Thank you guys for supporting me. First of all, whenever someone tells me, "Hey, I watched your fight," or listen, I'm always either in the main event or I'm on a pay-per-view or something. So you're paying money, or you're staying up late to watch me fight. You're going live to watch me fight. You're buying a ticket. I appreciate every single person that's ever supported me in any way. So thank you guys for watching my fight. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It makes me feel really special. And second of all, I trained so hard for that fight. I felt the best I've ever felt. I felt so good to go for 5 rounds. And although I didn't get beat up, although I didn't get outclassed, although I could have won the fight, there was like 30 seconds left. I was hard. I was just like, I don't know. You get that feeling sometimes, like, man, I'm sick of this. You know what I mean? Like in a good way, though. I've been a pro for 12 years. I've been a fighter for 15. And I've been to the top. It's just like life. It's up and downs, up and downs. Even financially, it's up and downs, up and downs. It's a crazy career, and I wanted some time to do other things. And that's why I decided to hang him up. But my goal before that was I wanted to try to get into one championship, because I think that would open up a lot of doors to fighters in Laos itself. There's a lot of good kickboxers and Muay Thai fighters in Laos, like the actual country of Laos. When I went to go visit a couple of gyms, and these guys are no joke. They can compete with anybody in Asia, in the world. That's what I really wanted to do. Although I did hung up my gloves, I might come back. I just got re-inspired. I had a talk with some of the one championship employees while I was out there. They almost signed me once, and I know they want to sign me again. When I was out there with my friend Adriano 4 weeks ago, I did get re-inspired. But right now, I'm just taking a break, and I'm getting my feet wet in some other things. I'm kind of letting my inner artist out. As a kid, I was so creative. I used to write a lot. I used to do theater arts. I used to dance. I used to fawn. Like I said, I enjoy that stuff. Theater arts I enjoyed the most in high school. I played soccer, but I loved theater arts. It was crazy. I did that for 4 years. So fighting didn't really allow me to let my inner artist out. It was like I go train, I take care of my kids, I go back and train, I come home and sleep. It was like that for literally 15 years. So now I get to focus a little bit on some things, and I got a couple of opportunities maybe 3 years ago to do some film and stuff like that. So these past 3 years, I've been studying that that side of the business, like just film, just acting, and writing and things like that. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now, getting myself into film and taking these opportunities that are coming my way.
You know, sometimes your body needs a break. You know, I mean, it's cool that you said that there might be a chance.
Definitely. I'm still training. I still train 2-3 times a week. I still go to the gym and you know, and I still train with the best guys in the world, you know. But for me
I
to
know
be like, hey,
I
I'm
retired like 5 times, man.
Yeah.
I always, you know,
Right. All right. So you know, man, you know.
It was just in the moment, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, man, I'm sick of this shit. I'm done with it. And you walk away, and like, man, your heart takes you back. You know, so I've retired a few times and came back. So
Yeah.
who knows?
You also know when you want to do something, you know, you got to give it 100%, you know. And I felt like I gave MMA my 100% so many times, and I would, you know, I would come up on top and I would come up short sometimes. And lately I've been coming up short, you know, and I'm not quitting, you know, I'm not quitting. I never quit in a fight before, so I don't want people to think that I'm quitting. I'm just putting my energy towards something else now, you know.
You know, I'm not an MMA expert, you know, at all, but you know, the fight me and John watched, you know, as a fan, we wanted to see your style of fighting. I mean, you know, the knee, the punches, and this guy just grabs you.
Yeah.
You know, and to me, that's boring. As a fan, that's boring. Now, maybe that's what you know, that's how some guys fight, but you know, there's different types of fighters, and you definitely have a more exciting style, you know, of fighting.
That's for sure. Yes, and that's why, you know, styles make fights, and he was a really good grappler. He was a second-degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And if you ask anybody, that takes 10 to 12 years to be, you know, so he's been grappling for that long. But the thing that I was upset with him about was like, he was literally just holding me. He wasn't trying to advance. He wasn't trying to submit me. He wasn't even trying to punch me. He was just holding me, and that was his plan, to literally let the time go by. And if he ends up on top, he won the round. You know, so you know, when he did work, kudos to him. I have no hard feelings. The fight's over. But if I ever wanted to come back and fight, you know, sometimes I'm like, oh, these guys are all young, 22 to 25. They want to fight me. I'm 33 years old now. But when I look at it, I'm in such good shape right now. I never took that much damage in my career. I never got knocked out, no surgeries, knock on wood. I'm perfectly healthy. So if I really, you know, if you see me come back, it won't be, you know, I would never say I'm washed up, but it won't be because I'm desperate or anything. It's just because I'm back to be the best. So if I ever come back, I'm back to be the best, always.
Awesome. Never close the door, man.
So. Yeah, thank you.
Well, that's awesome, Andre. So we'll wrap it up here. Any advice to the young guys out there, young ladies out there trying to pursue their dreams, whether it's MMA or whatever their passion is?
Yeah, for sure. Stay working, stay humble, and stay in your lane. You know, remember that, because there's gonna be a lot of people that doubt you. Be a lot of people that you think you need to impress. None of that matters. As long as you found the passion, as long as you enjoy doing what you do, as long as you know what you want to do, guess what? You got to put work into it. And that's every single day. You got to wake up. You got to think about that. You got to work towards that. And when you're there, guess what? You don't stop. You gotta keep going, keep reaching that next level. And that's the only way to achieve your dreams. I know, because I did it. I come from nothing. I never had a martial arts background. I never wrestled in high school. I started MMA when I was 18, fighting guys that wrestled their whole life, that did martial arts since they were 4 years old, you know, and I beat some of those guys to get to the top level, to get to the UFC. And that's what I did. I just worked hard every day, and I didn't let anything distract me. I didn't let anything get in the way. I didn't let anybody's negativity ruin my dreams, because I believed that I could do it. And when you work hard, you're gonna believe that you can do it too. So.
Well, good. Well, thank you so much,
Man,
Andre.
Yeah, thank you. Great story. You know, it's nice to finally meet you. I know we see each other on IG and all that, but it's nice to finally meet you. And
thank you. Thank you.
John, you wanna any last words?
Oh, well, everybody, that's the end of the show, and hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for coming on, Andre. The C4 podcast is brought to you by the Lao American Sports Hall of Fame. Visit us on the web at laoamericansports.com, celebrating the first, inspiring the next.